Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is David Novak. My reading of late has slowed down. Now I'm doing very well with Parkman. This is his history of the French and English in North America. And I have finished 2 books out of 7. However, for the last few days, I haven't touched it. I've been going to concerts, going to dinners, that kind of thing. And that puts a crimp into my before bedtime reading. I've been reading a book of archaeology by Casey Chang, which is progressing at a rather slow crawl. I'm enjoying it very much, but I'm just not covering the ground that I would like to each day. And for my novel read, I have been checking into the tale of the Heike, and this too has been proceeding fairly slow. It's been my project since the beginning of February. It's in 2 volumes of about this size. The reason for this slowdown has been, in spite of my great plans of not letting current events waylay me from my reading goals, I have, regardless, found myself checking in to YouTube, to possibly linked articles daily, just to keep abreast of what's going on. There's an awful lot going on. I've been following a guy named Hawk, who I recommend his videos. I believe he's a lawyer, and he will sum up very succinctly things that are going on. If I'm in for a deeper dive, then perhaps I will go tune into Texas Paul. And the third channel that I have been checking in with is something permaculture. I will put links to videos by each of these in the description box. And I would actually be happy to hear if there's some other YouTuber that you are going to, just for a little bit of sanity in these crazy times. The video that I will link from this guy named Hawk is one in which he talks about, and I think early on I said something about how if you voted for Donald Trump, you are not a good person, blah, blah, blah. I don't think I really took it to the level where I should have or might have, and he does a very nice job in this video talking about how as some of the consequences of the Trump regime's policies are coming home to roost with some of these supporters of his, people who voted for him, he is finding it hard to sympathize. And the reason for that is because it is blatantly obvious that a vote for Trump was a vote of cruelty toward one's fellow Americans. There is no getting around that. It was expressing a desire to hurt one's fellow citizens in this country. I am not one for indulging in what is it called, Schadenfreude, that is laughing at another's expense, laughing at their misfortune, because I realize that for every person suffering misfortune that they themselves voted to enact because they thought it was going to only alight on some other person. There are plenty of others who are innocently and unjustly having to endure this cruelty by choice of the administration. Cruelty that never needed to be, but a good portion, in fact, a major portion of voting Americans wanted to see it enacted. And so it came to pass. Now, I thought that I would read a little bit from the tale of the Heike. This was translated by Hiroshi, Kitagawa, and Bruce T. Tsuchida. I bought this edition because it has an introduction by Edward Seidensticker, who I trust as a translator. More than trust, I enjoy as a translator. I like his writing, and I felt, well, if this translation got his approval, then I will put my faith in it. And so far, I have not regretted it. So I'm a little bit more than 200 pages in, and let's see what this is. This is not quite 400, and I would suspect that the second volume is also about that. So the juncture at which I will... No, come on. Here, hold on. She wants to go to a place where she should not be going. It will cause things to fall all over the place. You can see the lovely little digits. She is not the same cat that is on the cover to my book, Quarantine, Boutique? Quarantine something, let's say that. You can find it at my Lulu page. So, I'm going to read a little bit from the point where I have just stopped. As I say, I'm at about 50% of the coverage in terms of the reading. Where I would like to be, I'm accomplishing half that because I feel like I have to keep up with current events. This is not the best of arrangements right here. I wish I had brought something, some kind of a throw for my lap. So the cloistered emperor has been he's been removed from the whatever the palace is called in which he resides, and he fears that he is going to be killed later that evening. And a visitor comes, and he's performing some sort of religious duties with I don't know what, reciting sutras or something like that. And a nun is sitting there beside him. So the visitor comes in. Thus, in tears, he approached the cloistered emperor. Only a nun sat near him. "Ah, Hoin has come," she cried. "His Majesty ate neither yesterday evening nor this morning. He has eaten nothing since he left Hojuji yesterday morning. Throughout the long night, he did not sleep at all. His life seems already to be in danger. The Hoin repressed his tears and replied, "Everything has a limit. It is already more than 20 years since the Heike began to enjoy their great prosperity. But their evil doings have gone beyond bounds, and so they are now doomed to fall." It felt to me like I am reading this novel at the most opportune time that one could be. At the time when we are seeing the United States, my country, having crossed the precipice and beginning the slide into its own fall. It is doomed to fall. It has allowed, permitted so many evil things for, let us, I think the Heike says, well, 20 years, let's say 30 years, something like that. Inflicting needless cruelty upon people is one of the things. This latest election, in which a felon, a acknowledged liar, a acknowledged rapist, and so forth, was chosen by the will of the voting populace, has really just sealed the doom to come for this country as it has been. And so I find a lot in this book resonating with me in a way that it would never have done if I had picked it up, say, 20 years ago or 30 years ago. One of the troubles with having so many claws is that they tend to get stuck in things like one's sweatpants. I will read just a little bit more. As I say, there's so much that, whereas when I was a kid or just even a young adult, there is so much that I would have, it would have registered as being a story, but I don't think I would have had any feelings for the kind of realities behind the story. So I would not have had any sense of political machinations when people are grappling for or clawing for power, particularly illegitimate power, what kinds of repercussions occur, what kinds of collateral damage becomes widespread. So I'll just read you a little bit from prior to that small scene that I just presented. Now, when Prince Motomichi's promotion became known, the critical voices were louder still. There was no precedent for a state counselor of the second court rank being allowed to skip the grades of vice counselor and counselor to suddenly become minister and kampaku. The chief of the state counselors and the first and second secretaries of the council, all of whom were to make arrangements for the ceremonies that would bestow these new titles upon Motomichi, knew not what to think of these changes. Ow. The claw went in. I'm super allergic to her, and it's just tough to have her so close. The claw went in, but I don't see any blood. Sorry. Let me start that again. Maybe I should take it back a little bit. At the time of the abdicated Emperor Enyu, on the first day of the 11th month of the third year of the Tenroku era, the Seisho Kentoku died. His younger brother, Chugi, was then only a vice-consular of the second junior court rank. The third brother, Kanaie, was already a consular and general of the right. This meant that Chugi had been, or Chuji, I don't know how you say that, Chugi, had been passed over in rank and office in favor of his younger brother. Now, however, Chugi passed his younger brother for the first time and was appointed state minister of the first senior court rank. Then, before it was issued, he was allowed to see the imperial edict proclaiming him Kampaku. Though these promotions accorded with the rule of elders first, they startled the eyes and ears of the people and caused them to criticize Chugi. This, of course, in light of so many of the crazy promotions that we have seen, crazy appointments that have been rubber stamped by the political party in the majority in all three houses currently in our government. So the legislative branch has not done its job as far as vetting the candidates, questioning the candidates. It has just rolled over, and it allowed for the enactment of wholly inappropriate office holders in these critical and vital positions, almost every single one of which somebody here or there will say, people are going to die because of this. So that is the status of things in the United States, my country right now. Now let me continue. Now, when Prince Motomichi's promotion became known, the critical voices were louder still. There was no precedent for a state councilor of the second court rank being allowed to skip the grades of vice councilor and councilor to suddenly become minister and kampaku. The chief of the state councilors and the first and second secretaries of the council, all of whom were to make arrangements for the ceremonies that would bestow these new titles upon Motomichi, knew not what to think of these changes. Premier Moronaga was dismissed from office and exiled to the east. He had already been exiled once before, during the Hogan era, for he was one of the four brothers who had been involved in the rebellion of their father, the notorious minister of the left, Yorinaga. His elder brother, Kanenaga, his younger brother, Takanaga, and another of his younger brothers, Norinaga, three in all, had died before a pardon was granted. Moronaga alone had survived after spending 9 springs and autumns at Hata in Tosa. In the 8th month of the second year of the Chogan era, he was summoned back to the capital and reinstated in his original office. The next year he was raised to the second senior court rank. In the 10th month of the first year of Nin'an, he rose from vice consular to associate consular. At the time, there was no vacant seat in the council chamber, and so he was obliged to sit apart from the regular consulars. This was the first time that the number of consulars had been increased to 6. With the exception of the cases of Prince Mimori, the minister of the right, and Lord Takakuni, the counselor from Uji, no minister had ever been exiled twice. Moronaga was an expert player of the flute and stringed instruments. His skill in all the arts was so great that he rose to the high position of premier. But he was exiled again. What kind of karma had punished him? During the Hogen era, he had been exiled to Tosa by the Southern Sea. Now, in the Jisho era, he was banished to Owari, east of the capital. If an innocent exile is refined and poetic, he naturally wishes to enjoy viewing the moon in a rustic place. No longer lamenting, Moronaga thought his fate similar to that of Pai Lei Tien, an official of the Tang dynasty, who had composed poems during his life of exile near the Sunyang River. Thus, Moronaga gazed over the waves of the Bay of Narumi and viewed the misted moon. He chanted poems into the breeze that swept the beach, played the biwa, and composed waka. So he idled away the days and months. One day, he made a pilgrimage to the Atsuta Shrine, the third largest shrine in the province. That night, he played the biwa and sang songs to please the god. In such a rustic area, there were few who had any understanding of elegance and poetry. The old men, women, fishermen, and farmers of the village listened to his performance with bent heads, straining their ears. But they could not tell purity from impurity, nor understand the sweet melodies. So all of this strikes me as potentially quite applicable to our day. And people are being deposed left and right. People are resigning once coveted positions for ethical concerns, refusing to be complicit or to collaborate with illegitimate actions required by the current regime. So it is good to recall that this stuff is not new, it's not unique. The world has gone through these things. Plenty of people have gone through these things. Yes, there have been unjust executions and so forth, but people have been able to utilize their time apart, enjoying poetry, enjoying music, that kind of thing. And we would hope that good people in our country who find themselves on the wrong end of this monstrous drive for unchecked power that we are witnessing, we hope that they are able to utilize their time in satisfying ways. I think what is the guy's name? Donald Trump put himself installed himself at the head of the Kennedy Center, an arts organization, because they had put on a drag show at one point in time. This shows you the kind of cultural ignoramuses which are in the ascendant right now. Anybody who has read theater knows that drag has been a feature of the best comedy going back to the beginning. But these ignoramuses in the ascendant want to be cruel to their fellow Americans. And so we have in office occupants who have no sense of culture, and that will lead to the waning of whatever culture we have here. I suppose when it comes to some facets of our culture, there will be other people in other places that take up the baton. I am reminded how ancient Greece, so much of its literature was lost, but thankfully the Muslim communities around the world decided to save it. And one can only hope that some other cultures, some other countries do pick up the baton, do decide to take what was best from American culture and turn it into their own, perhaps. It's the best that we can hope for. Everything has a limit. It is already more than 20 years since the Heike began to enjoy their great prosperity, but their evil doings have gone beyond bounds, and so they are now doomed to fall. Just a lovely book. I heartily recommend it, and I am enjoying the Hiroshi Kitagawa and Bruce T. Tsuchida translation. This edition was printed by the University of Tokyo Press. So I will leave it at that. Thank you very much for stopping by my channel.